Classes haven't even started yet. Maybe before you start taking the world to come back in 16 minutes.
Good evening. Let me call the Richland County Council October 6th regular council meeting to order. Let me ask Ms. Only for the roll call of council members.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Here.
Dickerson,
Here.
McBride, Livingston,
Here.
Tereshio,
Here.
Walker, Kennedy, Manning,
Here.
Myers, Newton.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. That brings us to our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Honorable Bill Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During this difficult time, we hope that all of our friends, family, neighbors, not just here locally, but across the country, are managing to get through as best they can. We ask that we all be given the strength that is needed to carry on with the daily duties of running the county government on behalf of the citizens, of the residents of Richland County. And that is pretty much it for the invocation. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Malinowski. That brings us to presentations of proclamations. Item 4A, a proclamation recognizing Spring Valley High School, named top 20 National Magnet School of Excellence. Ms. McBride or Mr. Manning, do you have that one?
Yes, Miss Only has it to read.
Ms. Only? Ms. Only, do you have that proclamation before you?
Yes, sir. Hang on one second for me. This is a proclamation recognizing Spring Valley High School on being named top 20 National Magnet School of Excellence. Whereas Spring Valley High School has received a National Magnet School of Excellence Merit Award, they have been named a top 20 National Magnet School of Excellence, ranking in the top 20 out of 4,340 schools in the nation is an impressive accomplishment. Whereas Principal Jeff Timoni exalted this designation underscores the tremendous work being done in our magnet programs every day. I am so proud of the efforts our magnet teachers, students, and parents put into making the Discovery and Exploration program two of the best magnets in the nation. Whereas the Discovery program is a 4-year AP honors program that is for students with special interest, motivation, aptitude, and commitment to the study of science and mathematics. The Exploration program is a 4-year college preparatory program with an emphasis on the science, mathematics, and communication skills needed to compete in the technological field. Whereas during a time where education has to be restructured because of a global pandemic, these Spring Valley High Vikings are still striving to renew heights while establishing a solid foundation for their futures. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Councilwoman Yvonne McBride, District 3, and Councilman Jim Manning, District 8, recognizes the amazing fortitude required to be named a top 20 National Magnet School of Excellence. Excellence in education is when we do everything that we can to make sure they become everything that they can do. Carol Ann Tomlinson.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4B, a proclamation recognizing Paris Osmond, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, Olivia Taylor on their 400 amateur athletic union relay race national championship win. That was put forward by Ms. McBride and Mr. Manning. Ms. Owens, do you have that one also?
Yes, sir.
Read that
A
one.
proclamation recognizing Paris Asman, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, and Oliver Taylor on their 400 amateur athletic union relay race national championship win. Whereas Paris Asman, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, and Olivia Taylor, traveled to Satellite Beach, Florida, and became the youngest group of females from South Carolina to win a national championship for the 4x400 amateur athletic union relay race with Team Blaze Track Club. And whereas Paris Asman, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, and Olivia Taylor competed in two different events, the 4x100 meter relay and the 4x400 meter relay. These young women ranked third place in the 4x100 meters relay with a time of 54.72 seconds. With that ranking, they earned the distinction of being All-American. 4x400 meter relay, these young women ranked first place with a time of 4 hours, 14 minutes, 33 minutes, and earned the distinction of All-American and national champions. And whereas the 2019-2020 track season is the first year Paris Asman, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, and Olivia Taylor competed as a team, they were unable to compete most of their track season due to COVID-19. However, these young women were still able to dominate in their sport, and they currently hold South Carolina's record for the 4x100 and the 4x400 for their age group. And whereas these student athletes are excellent role models for their community and school, Madison Ross is in sixth grade. Paris Asman and Olivia Taylor are in seventh grade at Blythewood Middle School, and Peyton Hightower is a sixth grader at Kelly Mill Middle School. While they attend different schools, they have made their prospective schools and Richland District 2 very proud. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Richland County Councilwoman Yvonne McBride, District 3, and Councilman Jim Manning, District 8, are delighted that Paris Asman, Peyton Hightower, Madison Ross, and Olivia Taylor's national championship titles. May they break more records in the future.
Thank you. And then a third presentation, proclamation. A proclamation recognizing Diane Sumter on receiving the A. Venerable Legacy Award for Life Achievement by the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency. That was put forward by Mr. Manning. Ms. Owens, do you or Ms. Manning have that one?
I have it, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Whereas DISA's Diane Sumter has been awarded the A. Venable Legacy Award for Lifetime Achievement by the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency. Whereas this Florida native moved to Columbia, South Carolina, and started making her mark as she graduated from the University of South Carolina with undergraduate and graduate degrees in English and social work, respectively. And whereas Diane Sumter founded DISA in 1986, DISA is a certified small women and minority-owned firm offering services through 4 different divisions: professional and administrative services, strategic marketing and communications, construction management and engineering services, and global business services. Whereas Diane Sumter has spent over 40 years working and dedicating her life to help elevate and educate minority and women-owned businesses, she has received a multitude of awards such as People to Watch in the Midlands for 2001, by the state newspaper, 2002 Top Performance Award for the South Carolina Statewide Minority Business Development Center, and 2003 Visionary Service Award. And whereas it to be eligible for the A. Venable Legacy Award for Lifetime Achievement requires a high standard of excellence, dedication, and accomplishment over a sustained period of time. The winner must play an integral role in the creative, technical, or professional progress of minority business development over the course of their life, and Diane Sumter has met and exceeded these standards. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Richland County Councilman Jim Manning of District 8 salutes Diane Sumter for receiving the A. Venable Legacy Award for Lifetime Achievement Award. May she continue to be able to lead and empower her community for years to come.
Thank you. That completes the section regarding our presentation proclamations. That brings us to item 5 on our agenda, and that is approval of minutes We have minutes, 5A, regular session, September 15th, 2020. 5B, zoning public hearing, September 22nd, and C, special call meeting, September 24th. Chair, entertain a motion regarding the minutes are all the minutes combined.
So move.
Is that for A, B, and C minutes or just for A?
A, B, and C.
I second.
Second.
Move the proper second for the minutes for A, B, and C. Mr. Malinowski, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the record, on the minutes for C, the special called meeting, I had notified the chair that I more than likely would not be able to make that meeting because I was attending the funeral services for the former clerk to council, Michelle Cannon Finch. And I'd like that made noted in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions reference the minutes? Did I get a second on that motion?
Yes.
It's moving properly second and no other discussion. Ms. Only, can you call the roll for the motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Or all three sets of minutes? Yes. Right.
Malinowski,
With the addition, yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio, Walker,
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings item 6 on our agenda, which is adoption of the agenda. Chair, entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chair.
This is properly moved. There's a second. Is there a second for the adoption of the agenda?
I'll second
I'll
that.
second it, Mr. Chair.
It's moving properly second for adoption.
Mr. Chair,
Is it, Ms. Newton, you recognize?
yes, I'd like to add something to the agenda. I'm,
Go ahead. That would, council will have to do that by unanimous consent at this point, but you may make the motion, yes.
yes, I move that by unanimous consent, we add a motion to the motion period to create a resolution in support of the McIntyre Joint National Air Guard Base to support their effort to get a new fighter plane.
I'll second your motion.
What was that, Ms. Myers?
I seconded Ms. Newton's motion.
Yes. My question was, were you seconding that motion? Did we get?
Yes, I do, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion around the motion?
Mr. Chair, I have one thing. Ms. Newton sent that out. Did you send that motion out the other day, Ms. Newton?
I did not, Ms. Dickerson. My request, which I was going to discuss at the motion period, and my intent was that I get approval from council to create that motion so that it could get on our agenda for our October 20th meeting. And I would send that motion to council for review before presenting it. And in fact, I can do that during this meeting. But so my request was not that we approve a specific motion, but that we give permission to present a resolution to McIntyre, that resolution subsequently being approved by full council.
Okay.
Any other question about that motion? And you're saying you're gonna put that in, was that in the motion period?
Yes, Mr. Chair, unless there's a better place that you think it would go.
Okay, there are no further questions. Can you call the roll, Ms. Only, on the motion to add that item to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes, and I think it's going under the motion period from what I'm understanding.
Yes, if you go there, yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes,
Horatio,
Yes.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, that item is added. Anything else? Staff, anyone else, anything reference to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
If not, I entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda as amended. Then
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the agenda as amended.
it's been moved
Second.
and properly second is to adopt the agenda as amended. Mrs. Only, can you call the roll for the adoption of the agenda as amended?
Sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 7, report of attorney for executive session. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chair and members of council, we have one item, Project Sunshine, for executive session. There was some information which I forwarded to council, I think it was on Friday, and that information came after you should have received an email from the chair explaining some highlights of that particular project. In that it's an economic development project, it qualifies for executive session, Mr. Chair, and we do have outside counsel that will be giving that presentation. And under your rules, we typically have those presentations at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you. You've heard the attorney's report, mentioned an executive session item, which requires outside attorneys, and as you may recall, per our rules, if that is the case, the council will take that matter up first to save the taxpayers some money from having an attorney stay around too long. So the chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session to take up Project Sunshine.
So move.
It's been moved
Second.
and properly second. I'm going to ask Ms. Only to call the roll for the motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chair, question.
Mr. Malinowski, recognized.
Thank you, sir. That item, where does it appear on the agenda other than the executive session?
That's where we put it as executive session. We've had items on the executive session before that weren't anywhere on the agenda.
Right, I'm saying there's no vote on this item. It's just for informational purposes.
No, we can't. No, there is a vote on it. We can take action on it. Yes.
That's what I'm asking. Where does that appear on the agenda? Did it get left off?
We'll do that after we come out of executive session from the executive session item that's under the attorney's report.
Okay.
Mr. Malinowski. Hello.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Malinowski, that information, because it was privileged and confidential information, was sent to members of council under attorney-client privilege, I think on Friday.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Okay.
yeah, thank you.
I just was
Mr.
wondering
Moore?
why there wasn't a placeholder for it on the agenda there.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Malinowski.
Okay, go ahead.
I did get a second. Did we carry that motion, Ms. Owen?
No, sir.
No, not yet.
Please call the roll for the motion for executive session.
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
Yes, I guess.
McBride, Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We're now going to executive session to discuss Project Sunshine. Ms. Owen will set us up in a minute. Ms. Young, are we getting there?
Yes, sir.
Chair, entertain a motion, come out of executive session.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's moving proper second, come out of executive session. Mr. Manning, did you make the motion?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Manning made the motion. I don't think he can second it. But I'll second.
Chair, that's what I was asking. I know. Entertain a second, come out of executive
I'll
session.
second it, Mr. Chair.
It's moving proper second, come out of executive session. Mrs. Owen, can you call the roll for the motion to come out of executive session?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Walker, Manning,
Abstain. I wasn't here to go into executive session. So
yes, sir. Manning,
Oh, yeah, I'm good with that.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Newton, yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Just remind folks, what's before us is the requested action before us from staff is approval of the first reading by title only for the county incentives regarding Project Sunshine, approval of poverty resolution, and approval of first reading by title only for land transactions. Chair, entertain a motion in reference to that request for action.
Mr. Chair, I approve. I recommend approval.
There's a motion for approval for that request for action. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mann, you recognize.
was this matter discussed with the Economic Development Committee?
The committee recommend approval. I mentioned that during the executive session. Probably wasn't loud enough.
Yes, sir, it sure was, but certainly wasn't public enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ms. Arnold, call the roll for the motion.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
I vote no, but I expect to support it on the second and third readings. Thank you.
yes, ma'am. Newton,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 8 on our agenda. Citizen input. Items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing. It's only that, do you have any citizen input?
No, sir.
That public hearing is open and now closed. The next is item 9A, citizen input but pertaining to a Richland County matter and not on the agenda. Item for which a public hearing is required, our public hearing has been scheduled, cannot be addressed at this time. Ms. Owens, did you get any citizen input reference item 9A?
No, sir.
The public hearing is open, now closed. That brings us to item 10, report of the county administrator. Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. In your packet, you will see a few items that I have listed as a part of the county administrator's report. You can follow along with these items. If you would like updated information as of today, I could also share that with you, but I will follow along in the items in the packet, starting with the first item, which is COVID-19 statistical data. You look at your attachments beginning on page 40. What I have done for you is capture the information on DHEC's website that outlines the coronavirus numbers within Richland County. And this report is as of September the 29th, as of 11:59 p.m. And what it shows on page 40 is a breakdown of the number of confirmed cases and probable cases. So the confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Richland County were 231 as of that date, and the probable cases were 13. The confirmed total positive cases as a whole of the testing that was done, you can see there was 14,703 and probable was 746. And that's on page 40. The next few pages kind of break down the details of the number of tests, then the cases, hospitalizations, followed by the number of deaths also reported in Richland County. And I'll briefly go through those. So right now I'm on page 41 of your packet, and you will see that the total number of testing that was shown for Richland County as a whole was 126,242 tests that were performed. And the number of cases was shown to be 15,449. And if you refer back to the page that I just read from, you can see those totals match up with the confirmed cases and the probable positive cases for Richland County. You will notice on that page that there were 731 hospitalizations. And according to the data we'll get to in the next few sheets, we'll break down what that means in terms of hospitalizations. And then the reported total of deaths on that date, through that date, were 244. Currently, that total stands at 250. I'm moving to page 42 of your attachment. Again, coronavirus data specific to Richland County. What you'll see on this particular page is the percent positive number. And at this time, the percent positive number was 19.8%. You may recall that the number that's communicated as a good number, if you want to call it that, is some number 5% or less. So you can see that Richland County's positivity rate is substantially higher than that 5% number. To date, that number is slightly lower, but it's only 19.2%. So while the number has slightly gone down, it is not a dramatic decrease. On page 43 of your packet, you again see the number of tests broken down. And what you have there for your edification is a breakdown of the types of tests that were given and the positivity or negative results of those types of tests. Again, you can see the percent positive rate for this 2-week period was 12.1%. So that was at the time, the 2-week period from 9/15 through 9/29, that 2-week period, the percent positive was 12.1%. And currently, the recent 2-week period is 10.9%. So why is that relevant, you may ask? Well, I just read that over the course of the entire period of time that we've been getting data from DHEC, they've been reporting percent positive, that the total number is 19.8. So over the last few weeks, you have seen a decrease in a positivity rate given this current information. So that could be some potential good signs, but that's just covering the last couple of weeks. On page 44 of your packet, again, a breakdown of all the cases. So again, just another reporting of those numbers. And you will see, if you're interested in looking at that, at the bottom of that document, it breaks down reported cases by all races, by ethnicity, by sex, and then it even breaks it down by age group. And again, all this information is reported on DHEC's website, and they keep the information up to date, as you can see, based on the 11:59 p.m. time frame. A few more attachments here related to COVID-19 data, and then I'll move on to the next item on my report. The number of hospitalizations that were reported during this time frame were 9,160. And if you look at that pie chart right beneath that total number, what you will notice is that there's an 89.7% large portion of that pie chart. And what this is telling you is that at the time that these cases were reported, they were reported in the hospital, but they did not require a stay. So only 10% of this number actually required hospitalization as a result of COVID-19. So the current numbers are again about 10.1% and 89.9%. So again, not a big shift between the reported numbers on the 29th and as of today. And I've already communicated on that last sheet that total number in your packet is actually for the totality of the state. But in Richland County, the number of this report was 244. And as of today, the total number of deaths at last report was 250. So that is the statistical data that I had been reporting out to you, but it had been not providing for you visibly. So that is the visible data that I've been sharing with you on those attachments. And again, you can find that on DHEC's website under their statistics by county. So you can look at each county within the state and see where they stand. But this is Richland County specific data. So related to statistical data for Richland County, does the council have any questions that it would like for me to address before I move on to the next item on my report?
Anyone? If not, you can continue.
Okay, Mr. Chair. I also listed on pages 47 through 49 of your packet information related to our mask giveaway events. In the packet, I put a little statement saying that there have been multiple mask giveaway events held in Richland County. Council members have routinely distributed masks in one of the following ways. Either the county has hosted an event where individuals have come to the event, maybe via a drive-through process, or the county has partnered with other local agencies to give away masks during community outreach events, or members of the council have given organizations supplies of masks that they distribute to the attendees of those events or to those community agency members. And in the packet, what we've done is we've highlighted some of the communication that the PIO has done to the community via social media, via press release, via media, in terms of news media that the county has done. Now, these press releases that you have in the packet are a few of the events that happen. I certainly am aware that Council Districts 3, 10, and 11 participated in events that did not require press releases at the time. They just participated in events where they took out and supported those events by giving them masks. Also, I listed in your packet the next scheduled mask giveaways. And some of this information has actually been picked up by some media sources. So we have scheduled for District 1, Friars Gate Park on October 9th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. There will be a mask giveaway event. We're partnering with Ballantyne Library on October 23rd from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. as another event. District 8 is going to be having an event at the Decker Center on November 6th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. There'll be an event in District 9, North Springs Park on October 16th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then at Sand Hills Library on October 30th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And Mr. Chair, just for the benefit of those council members who may not be aware of how we came up with event sites for District 9, before his untimely passing, Mr. Jackson actually gave event sites that he wanted to have mass distributed from. So that's how we got those sites, and that's where those came from. So staff did not arbitrarily pick those sites. Those were sites that were requested by Mr. Jackson during the time that we were asking for sites. So I wanted to make sure that council members were aware of that information. So if there are any questions related to those, Mr. Chair, I'll take those now before I move on to the next item. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is that Ms. Dickerson?
Yes, Mr. Brown, you neglected to do a special event for 16 in District 2.
Did I forget to do, I forgot something? Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
District 2 will have a special event and they will be given also, I know we've done it before, but this also should be inclusive. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Chair.
Ms. McBride, you recognize?
Yeah. Tonight is National Night Out while we're meeting, and it's taking place all over Richland County. And several elementary schools and communities are doing it. And I am participating, well, the county is participating by providing masks to some of the events that are taking place now as we meet.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. McBride. And that's why I mentioned earlier as well that there are council members who are participating in ways that we haven't captured. So thank you to Ms. Dickerson and Ms. McBride. And I certainly did not mean to exclude you from that information.
Oh, and also I just left a National Night Out as well. In one of my communities, so that was another event as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Brown, you may go to your next item.
Absolutely. So the next item on the agenda I do have some information I want to share, and I also actually have two members on the call that you're familiar with, Mr. King from our Emergency Services Department, who serves as our local disaster recovery manager, and then as well as Mr. Pat Beekman, who's one of our consultants working with us related to the CARES Act funding. And so in case we have questions about the item that I'm going to discuss now, they're on the call as well. So in your packet, presented out information to you that I briefed you on at a previous either coronavirus ad hoc meeting or a previous council session. But the long story short is that we are asking council to consider making its voice heard. And it's actually our recommendation that you make your voice heard, specifically related to coronavirus relief funds. So you may recall that the state communicated to all of its counties that they were going to set up a portal by which counties could submit reimbursement requests in order to receive CARES Act funding that had been passed down to the state for counties and other agencies to receive. The reason why that's important is because based on the US Treasury guidelines, the US Treasury gave communication that their expectation was that the states they would give money to for any populations over 500,000, the federal government would give a direct allocation of funding to those organizations or to those counties. So by way of local communication, Greenville received $91 million direct allocation. So listening to our consultants, based on that per capita formula, the expectation is that Richland County will receive somewhere between, I believe the number was 69 million and 71 million was an estimate based on a per capita allocation if the US Treasury guidelines were followed and then dispersed through the state to those other agencies, Richland County being one. So it's a significant difference between possibly receiving a reimbursement for money that we have spent. And right now we've submitted a reimbursement request for roughly about $1.7 million. But at the same time, we believe that the significant difference between that amount of money and the $69 to $71 million that could possibly be received is enough to where we thought the council should consider strongly sending a letter to the governor and the delegation saying, please consider allocating the distribution of funds directly to the county so that it can respond to COVID-19 as the US Treasury anticipated. So in your packet, you have a letter that was sent by Horry County as an example of a county who submitted something already. And we have that also a draft letter for you to consider tonight. And so I'm asking you, if you have questions about that information, to certainly please ask. But I think with the size of our county and the size of that difference, it's something certainly worth considering. And it will be my recommendation that the council strongly consider at least making your voice heard on the possibility of the delegation and the governor reconsidering how they're going to distribute those funds related to the CARES Act relief funding. So that's all I have on that particular item, Mr. Chair.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I thought we did a motion or we had a discussion on this before. We did not make a formal motion on it, Mr. Brown? Because I know we had a discussion.
You did. So what happened is early on when before we even got into submitting money for reimbursement, I came to you and said the state wants us to request funding in this format. And they gave us a document that said, if you sign this agreement, you are agreeing to do this certain way. And you all gave legal the ability and myself to find out whether or not they could make changes to that agreement, which they did. They made certain changes, but the changes that they made were not changes to how they're distributing the funding. They just made changes to what the law said was permissible. So you did give a vote on that and gave action on that, but it wasn't this action.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So So what's before us is the county administrator's request to be able to forward the letter on behalf of the county.
Yes, sir. And so that, I don't think that necessarily, I didn't present it to you as a motion, but I'm hoping that, you will make your voices as the group to discuss whether or not the chair will be, authorized to send that letter. So, but that's what I'm asking on that item, Mr. Chair.
Well, at this point, does anybody object to the chair? I'm sorry, the administrator sending the letter. Okay.
So you just need a motion to, from us to authorize the chair to send a letter? Is that what?
The administrator, yes.
Okay, well, the administrator, I will move that we authorize the administrator to go forward with the information as presented.
Second.
It's moving properly second. Any further discussion? If
Mr.
not,
Chair.
I'll ask Ms. Owen to call the roll on that motion.
Mr. Chair.
Was trying to speak.
Ms. Newton, was that you wanted to recognize?
It is, just so that we can wrap up my question before we move on from this item. I absolutely support this. I guess just quickly in follow up to what Ms. McBride was asking about, I was under the impression that we also moved that we reach out to SCAC, our lobbyists and other organizations to support us on this. And so I guess I just wanted to ensure that in addition to us making our voices heard through this letter, that we're also availing ourselves of those other resources as well.
Mr. Chair, may I give Ms. Newton some update? I'm glad you brought that up, Ms. Newton. That's a good point. I did reach out to SCAC. I talked to Mr. Tim Winslow, who I believe is the executive director, if I have that correct. He said that initially, once they got the guidelines from the state, that he did immediately contact them, and that he had spoken with them and worked with them to try to get them to do what we're asking. But at the time, and even currently, they said they were treating it as guidelines, and with any guidelines, basically they have the latitude to utilize them as they saw fit. So that's what the association, Mr. Winslow, shared with me in my conversation with him.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Owen can call the roll.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes. That was a
Myers.
yes. Did you hear me?
yes, sir. Myers, Newton,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, two more items and my report will be completed, sir. One other item related to the coronavirus update specifically is not in your packet, but we are developing right now a request for businesses to let us know whether or not they can provide cleaning and sanitation services for some of our judicial or our magistrate offices. And so I know that Ms. McBride has talked about many times the county doing a better job of communicating to those small businesses, minority businesses, and other vendors who may not getting the word that Richland County has services that it's going to be looking for. So I'm asking everybody right now who is watching this live stream to be on the lookout for on our procurement page. The county is currently drafting a scope of work that is going to be putting out for vendors to bring forth and tell us whether or not you can do the work specific to cleaning and sanitation services that we expect to happen in some of our magistrate facilities. So we're looking for those local vendors, potentially those small businesses, those minority businesses. And this is just one of the ways I want to go ahead and communicate that specific to our coronavirus response. So we'll be asking for cleaning services, sanitation services for those buildings.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Dickerson, you recognize.
Mr. Brown, do you plan to run this through procurement? So
Yes, ma'am. Procurement is already in the process of doing that and working with operations services to develop their scope of work. But I'm just asking, I'm just trying to use it as another form of communication because we've certainly trying to improve that information getting out to people who may not always be looking at our website at the same time something pops up. So this is just one of the ways that I'm sharing that information.
And also, you mentioned some small businesses, so I'm just going to make sure that whatever our DBE percentages, I think that also really needs to be inclusive some kind of way, if not. Otherwise, I just want to make sure when it goes to procurement that it is advertised properly, giving a lot more people the advantage to take advantage of this particular opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. We've already been working with Government Community Services and Office of Small Business. And we're ramping all of that up. So again, this is just one additional step that we're taking to show the community and those vendors who feel like they haven't had an opportunity to be made aware. This is just one of those other ways we're doing it. But yes, ma'am. Mr. Chair, did you mind taking a reconsideration on that letter so we can clinch that and move forward with getting that done?
Chair, take a motion reconsideration on last item regarding the letter.
Move to reconsider, Mr. Chair.
Reconsideration, properly second. Mrs. Only can you call the roll for motion reconsideration?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers, Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Last
Thank
item,
you.
Mr. Chair, is National Customer Service Week. You may have seen some information posted on social media or the county's website. On behalf of Richland County Council, I sent messages out to our employment body, thanking them for their service, communicating the importance of customer service in Richland County, understanding that county government is at its core customer service. And so we just wanted to thank those men and women who are out there working on behalf of not only the citizens, but on behalf of Richland County specifically, and performing that customer service and to increase the level of expectation that service that we provide. So I said thank you on behalf of the council. I thought that was appropriate. So hopefully you did not mind that, but we did go out and provide a box lunch for those men and women who have continued to work, some in front of the scenes and some behind the scenes in support of National Customer Service Week on behalf of Richland County Council and its administrative staff. And with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us, thank you very much. That brings us to item 11, report of the interim clerk of council. Ms. Only?
Yes, sir. I only have one thing on my report, and that's the potential council retreat locations. The clerk's office and administration have already begun planning for the 2021 council retreat. It has been suggested that we stay within the county due to the pandemic. So the clerk's office has reached out and made some preliminary inquiries on the venues that are listed on the agenda. The township and the Columbia Museum of Art are both available on the time frame that we usually use, which is the last week in January. The convention center is not, but they could accommodate us the week before that. I just kind of need council's guidance to know how we need to move forward, or if you have any other suggested locations that you would like for us to check on. And that can work.
Any feedback regarding the report from the interim clerk?
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Let's walk you right now.
I move that we hold our annual retreat at the Township Auditorium at the dates usually held.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's moving properly second. Any discussion? If not, Ms. Only can cover up. Someone have a question?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Teresa, you recognize.
Yes. I'm going to also ask if the township is set up or if it can be set up to live stream this or I guess have the same kind of technology that we have to, at least right now, to make our sessions available to the public.
Yes, ma'am. Our PIO department I believe we'll be able to do so. Or if not, we can hire a videographer locally. We'll have that lenience, that availability, since we won't be constrained by the hotel like we were in the past.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you for that.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Any
Mr.
further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
You recognize.
the, in the township auditorium, are we going to use the basement, excuse me for lack of a better term?
Yes, ma'am. It's the green room, and that will be where we will be meeting, where we've held meetings in the past.
Yeah, that was not always the most conducive place to me for a meeting. And I know we also met at the Columbia Museum of Art, which seems that the parking wasn't as good, but the facility was a bit more conducive for meetings. So I don't know whether the others of you have met at the township or not.
Miss,
You recognize, Ms. Dickerson.
well, you know, like when you talk about all the live streaming and all of this, can it not be done in the chamber? I mean, do it at the chamber. I mean, I'm just throwing that out, although I won't be here, but it's already set up. So that could be a consideration.
I believe the reason that we were trying to steer clear of that was due to the social distancing. The other places we would be able to social distance.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have Ms. Newton and then Mr. Ratio.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question, and I apologize if I missed it. Looking at these three locations, to Ms. McBride's point, apart from the date consideration, which of these facilities would you say was most conducive to us having the kind of conversations that we like to have, where everyone can be sitting around together and we can have the appropriate AV, et cetera?
The convention center would give us the most space. The only drawback with them is that we have to use their caterer and their AV. So there would be an extra cost there.
Okay.
And what about the museum?
We would have the same capabilities at the township. We could use our own caterer and our own AV.
Mr. Chair, one more question.
You recognize.
Sorry. And I know that there's a motion on the floor, but this discussion is relevant to that. Ms. Only, you were looking for a motion for us to pick a location tonight, or you were just giving us this information so we could ruminate on it?
I was really giving you an update, but if you so choose, you can make a motion to move forward. I just didn't want us to wait till the last minute and not have anywhere for us to hold a meeting.
Thank you.
Any further discussion regarding the motion to hold the retreat at the Township Auditorium? So the regular scheduled time of January, as mentioned. If not, I'll ask Ms. Only to call the roll regarding the motion.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yeah.
McBride,
Yes, sir.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Abstain.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 12, report of the chair. Chair doesn't have a report.
Mr. Chair, does Ms. Only need a motion to reconsider so she can move forward with this?
Yes, ma'am, that was nice.
I'll make a motion to reconsider this item.
Second.
It's moving proper second for reconsideration of the item regarding the township. Is there Any discussion? Well, this is reconsideration. Please, Ms. On call roll for reconsideration.
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning, Newton.
Yes.
Motion fails. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, as I said, Chair has a report. Then that brings us to item 13, approval of consent items. And the consent items are item 13A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Mr. Chair, you
Dixie, recognized.
skipped item 12.
No, I said that I didn't have a report.
Oh, well, I didn't, it wasn't clear, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr.
Item
Chairman,
13,
I move for approval of item 13A through F.
Second.
the motion that is moving proper second by items 13A through F. Discussion. There being no discussion in reference to those items, I'll ask Ms. Owen to call the roll for the vote for item 13A through F.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 14, third reading items. Item 14A, an ordinance authorizing the levying of ad valorem property taxes, which together with the prior year's carryover and other state levies
Mr.
and
Chairman, I move for approval for third reading items 14A and B.
thank you. An additional amount appropriated by the Richland County Council prior to July 20, provides sufficient operation of Richland County government. With 14A, 14B for the ordinance is an order authorizing a deed to the city of Columbia for Clemson Road widening waterline relocation. The motion was for approval for item 14A and B. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second. Discussion of item 14A or B.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Malinowski, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a secondary motion to take them individually as I have two different votes.
The motion was
Mr.
to split
Chairman,
the question.
I remove my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Malinowski removed the motion. Is the second of that motion okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take up item 14A. To entertain a motion reference item 14A.
Move to approve item 14A on third reading.
Motion for approval item 14A. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second. Item 14A. Discussion. Item 14A. Not Ms. Malinowski, you have a question? Discussion item 14A?
No, sir.
You said no?
No.
All right, Ms. Owen, can you call the roll for item 14A?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings item 14B, an ordinance authorizing deed to the city of Columbia for Country Road widening, 12-inch water line relocation, which is County Tax Map number 25700 and 25800.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair, you losing your volume.
Dixon, you recognize?
Now, I just say you need to speak up a little bit.
Thank you. Very well.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of third reading item 14B.
Motion for approval item 14B. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second. Discussion for item 14B. There being none, Mrs. Owen, can you call the roll for item 14B?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, this is Paul Brawley, the county auditor.
Yes.
We're asking that you reconsider those two items, please.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to reconsider.
Second.
Item
14A.
item 14A and B.
Motion reconsideration item 14A and 14B. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second. Ms. Owen, can you call for the motion for reconsideration item 14A and B?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers, Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
That brings us to item 15, second reading items. Item 58, authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds in one or more series, tax exempt and taxable, in the amount not to exceed $30 million for the purpose of acquiring construction equipment, rehabilitation, and improving various capital projects. Authorizes the county administrator to describe the details of the issuance and sale of the bonds. The chair entertains a motion for item 15A, second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved. Is there a second for item 15A?
Second.
Moving properly second. Discussion. If not, Ms. Owen, can you call the roll for item 15A?
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings item 15A, authorize the issuance of the Fire Protection Service General Obligation Bonds in one or more series, tax exempt and taxable, in an amount not to exceed $8 million for the purpose of acquiring and constructing fire stations. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Second.
It's moving properly second. In discussion, reference the item 15B. Ms. Malinowski, you want to recognize for this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like page 139 of our agenda, which is a list of fire projects, to correctly read. It would be Ballantyne / White Rock as a combined effort, and also added on there, and I've spoken with Mr. Byrd, add on there the Spring Hill Station is supposed to be included in here as well, but has been omitted. I believe.
From staff, is that correct? Spring Hill was supposed to be here?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Malinowski.
Thank you.
That
Mr.
was,
Chair?
yes, Ms.
Thank you. I know we have heard from Mr. Byrd on the list of fire projects. Just wondering if we have heard from Chief Jenkins on, has he had, I guess, has he been consulted on these projects?
Mr. Riccio, this is Michael Byrd.
Mr. Bird, go ahead, please. You recognize.
Not in the last several weeks, we've discussed these stations before. As I indicated last meeting, these have been planned for.
Mr. Bird, you went out on us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Good.
Okay. These projects have been on, in planning phase for several years, and we have discussed station expansion with these stations, but we have not specifically talked with Chief Jenkins in the last several months. But these are stations that are in the unincorporated areas of the county and have been in the planning process for several years.
Thank you.
Any further discussion for item 15B? If not, I'll ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the vote for item 15B.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to 15C. An order is amending the fiscal year 2021 Victim Assistance Fund and the budget by $153,456 to amend county sheriff budget in the MBA fund. Entertain a motion.
So move.
It's been moved for approval for item 15C. Is there a second?
Second.
15C been moving properly second. Any discussion? Ms. Malinowski, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for clarification. In 15C, we're talking about the Victim Assistance Fund. And then in 15D, it mentions in the last line to amend the victim assistance budget again. So shouldn't that only be in one place?
Mr. Chair, can I be recognized?
Yes, please, if you can answer that question, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Malinowski, the Victim Assistance Fund is supported partially by the general fund. So in essence, it had to be in both places because you have to increase the general fund to fund it, and then we have to transfer the funds out to the Victim Assistance Fund to fund it. So they're dual approvals. You need to approve the general fund portion, and then we will transfer those funds out to the Victim Assistance Fund, sir.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, Mr. Hayes.
Can we, would it be helpful, you want to make the motion, want to take those together since they seem to be, well, we'll go ahead, we'll see. If there's no other question on item 15C, please, Ms. Only, can you color up item 15C?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson, McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton. Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings the item 15.
Mr. Chair, does that item need to be reconsidered?
It's a second reading, I think, so no.
All right, well, okay, that's fine, because
It's
under
a
the
second reading item,
circumstances,
so no.
okay, under the circumstances, I wouldn't, I'm voting yes, but I do have a little bit of a problem, but I am voting yes because we are in some very serious times right now, so thank you.
Thank you. Item 15D.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Pardon me, I'm sorry. After Ms. Myers' name was called, there was some really bad audio feedback, so I'm not sure if my vote was recorded.
And how should it be recorded?
As a yes, Ms. Owen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 15D, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020 general fund annual budget by $1,900,000 not $2,456 to pay for the annual cost of body-worn camera and in-car cameras in the Richland County Sheriff Department General Fund budget, and to amend the victim assistance budget. The chair entertain a motion for item 15D.
So moved.
It's moved by Mr. Manning. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
It's moved and properly second. Any discussion reference item 15D? There'll be no discussion. I'll ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the vote for item 15D.
Malinowski,
I'm voting no, and for the record, I want it to be understood, my no is because of the victim assistance portion, not the body cameras.
yes, sir. Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton. The motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 16, the report of the Administration and Finance Committee. The Honorable Joyce Dickerson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Report from the Administration and Finance Committee. First item will be item 16A, Richland County School District 1, recommendation to deny Richland County request for an additional $500,000 payment for the sewer and water expansion project, and you'll find that information on page 154 through 190. The committee's recommendation was to deny the draft IGA, and also to, I believe, to include, that should be included, that the expenditure from the lagoon closes if it exceeds the surplus amount that Richland County requests payment for that district, and the report is to deny.
The committee's recommendation, discussion. Any discussion regarding the committee's recommendation on 16A?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Newton, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I want to make sure that I heard correctly what the committee's recommendation was, because the way that I read the document, there was a recommendation to submit the IGA to Richland School District 1, stipulating that we were going to accept their funding and also the funding from DHEC, and that if there were any additional charges that we would invoice them. So I'm sorry, Ms. Dickerson, are you saying that that is what the committee's recommending?
That is exactly what I was, was trying to convey, is that is what the committee, we had a long discussion on that. So I was just doing a clip note version of it. So that is correct.
No, I apologize. There was a lot of history in that discussion that you had, and so
yeah.
So thank you, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair, I've been muted. Thank you. I'm not clear that was the committee's recommendation.
Well, Miss Myers, I've gone back and forth with staff on this and listening and reading the documents. I've gone through it a couple of times, went over it again today with Dr. Thompson, and that is what that we would deny that IGA's draft.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay. Sorry.
Mr. Livingston, can I be recognized? John Thompson here.
Yes, sir, because I don't quite understand.
Yes, sir. So as Ms. Dickerson is saying, so you see the word deny. So in essence, what Richland School District 1 is saying, they're denying the additional $500 to the county. What the county's position is, based on the A&F committee, is to reject that denial from Richland School District 1. So in essence, we're going to pursue that $500,000 And the rationale is we're giving them an additional $360 of tap fees that they will forego. And so because of that, and some additional services that we're providing to them, so it behooves them to be able to provide that $500,000 to us.
Yeah.
That's right. I agree with that.
Yeah, like I said, we went through this about 30 minutes and I was trying to make sure that did a very clip note to make sure. Okay.
Just for clarification, I was clear with that part of the motion. Just simply said we will deny the request for the additional 500,000. But there was something added to that which threw me off.
Okay, well, we're fine. I think everybody's clear on the committee's recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
So the committee's recommendation is just simply what's before us in this too.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask Ms. Owing to call.
Yes, sir.
Roll for item 16, recommendation, the committee's recommendation, item 16A, as written there.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Myers, Miss, only please record Myers as a yes. I've been muted on and off all evening, so I apologize.
Okay.
Chair John Thompson, can we have a reconsideration, sir?
I make a motion to reconsider that item, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
It's moving proper second reconsideration. I'll ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the motion for reconsideration.
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you.
Now that brings us to item 16B,
Mr.
sewer request
Chair.
for the form at McCord's Ferry Road. Mrs. Dickerson, I apologize, that is on your committee report. What's the committee
Now
report?
you've really thrown me off now. I gotta look where I am now, but the
16B is,
we're at 16B and it is the chair of the committee's recommendation to accept the staff's report. I believe I got it correct, yes.
again,
It's to accept the staff recommendation as,
yeah, the committee is to accept the staff recommendation regarding sewer request for the McCord Fair Form. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll ask you to call for the vote for the motion regarding 16B.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Malinowski, you recognize.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you call for that vote, just please, we're voting on the notes there, page 191, September.
191.
All that. Thank you.
191, Mr. Malinowski.
Thanks, Ms. Dickerson.
Okay, Ms. Owens, you may go ahead and call the roll for item 16B.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings to item 16C.
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Dickerson.
Mr. Chairman, John Thompson, can we have a reconsideration, sir?
Yes, I was just getting ready to do that. I don't know who's gonna do. Anyhow, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to reconsider that item
Second.
16B.
Move, is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second for reconsideration, item 16B. Ms. Only, can you call the roll for the motion for reconsideration 16B?
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, Mr. Chair, that brings us to item 16C, Broad River Wastewater Treatment Facility, headwork and emergency storage, lagoon upgrade. You'll find that the explanation for this particular item on page 210 to 252. The committee's recommendation is to accept the staff recommendation as presented in the recommended action above. So the committee's recommendation is to approve staff recommendation.
You heard committee's recommendation for item 16C. Any questions, discussion? Not, I'll ask Ms. Only to call the roll for the committee's recommendation for item 16C.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Thompson, do you think this item needs to be reconsidered?
Mr. Chair, I move to reconsider.
Second.
The motion for reconsideration, item 16C. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's moving properly second. Ms. Only, can you call the roll for the motion for reconsideration for item 16C?
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much for this opportunity, and that concludes the Administration and Finance Committee's report. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 17, report of the Economic Development Committee. That's Livingston. Item 17A, a resolution approving the 2020 assessment roll for the Village of Sand Hill Improvement District, Mr. County, South Carolina. Committee's recommendation was for approval. Any questions? If not, I'll ask Ms. Only to call the roll for the committee's recommendation for item 17A.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Malinowski, you recognize.
thank you. Two questions. Well, one, for the record on page 260 of our agenda, I would like someone to explain why we have the Village at Sand Hill and the Saluda Dam LLC, why they have not paid for several past years.
I don't know what, is anyone available to answer that question?
Mr. Livingston, this is Ray Jones,
Yes, Mr. Jones.
legal counsel to the county on this particular matter. So I can't explain to you why they didn't pay them timely, but they are paid late. Otherwise, the properties would be subject to sale. So those particular items, there are multiple landowners there. Why they don't pay on time, I can't explain, but I do know that they pay before the sale date when it's going to sale for taxes.
Well, then is that an incorrect heading on table E on page 260? Because it says unpaid annual payments from prior years.
Well, I mean, it's based upon the time that at which time this was prepared is not an incorrect heading. I think the table is correct.
Well, it goes back to 2013.
Right, but it means they weren't paid timely. It doesn't mean they haven't been paid at all.
Okay. And my second and last question is, why are there 12 properties in this that have no assessments? They have zero assessment.
Because those properties have prepaid their assessments, which they're allowed to do by statute.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, Mrs. Owen, can you call the roll for item 17A, motion for approval?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings us to item 18, report of the Rules and Appointment Committee. Ms. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only item we have, item for action, is a proposed CMRTA board member qualifications. You will find those on pages 272 to 277. And these are some qualifications and criteria that the CMRTA board provided us, suggesting that those members who wish to serve on the board should have in their background. And they're all listed on page 273. Also gives us the meeting dates and times and the location, average length of the meetings, and how many hours of service per month. So those people applying have a better idea of what they're applying for. Committee recommendation is to pass these qualifications, make them part of the overall board package when we send out advertisements.
You've heard committee's recommendation and discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manning, you recognize.
So the question I have is this, because this is what this particular organization wants, or is this something that the committee will be doing now for all board and commission appointments?
This will be strictly for CMRTA, just like the library has forwarded us at the council some items they would like to see people have when they serve on their board. This came from the CMRTA because they felt that when we would many times, I don't want to say many times, I'll say when we at times would appoint someone, it seemed like they didn't have experience that they felt was needed.
Mr. Chair, may I jump in on this particular?
Yeah, you recognize. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. I do think this is very well much needed. If anyone, I've served on that board for, I can't tell you on and off for how many years. It is very time consuming. It is not your average 1 hour meeting. It could last anywhere from 1 hour to 4 hours. It just depends on the item. A lot of times we don't get business taken care of because we have people who don't really understand a lot of what transportation actually entails. It's very detailed. It's a lot that goes into that nationally. So I do highly recommend these recommendations because they, in my opinion, they are very much needed, because if we don't, we get people who just, you can't just be a friend to the community to serve on that committee. You need some type of experience, and you need to be able to spend time, because it's one of the most time consuming boards there is that we have on Richland County. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manning, and Ms. Manning, you recognize then, Mr. Horatio, you're after.
So, Mr. Chairman Malinowski, did the library, did that one come to council for approval? I don't recall coming to council for approval.
I don't recall that did, Mr. Manning.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand why we have this coming. If we had a predecessor to this that came to now, to the point, will the committee still be interviewing and trying to ascertain whether people are prepared for this board now that you have this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Teresio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo what Ms. Dickerson said. As one of the newest members of that board, I completely agree that this is a big responsibility to undertake, and look forward to have, to making good appointments for this board. Hopefully that will help us with, meetings lasting a really long time, and folks knowing how to move things along. So thank you, Ms. Dickerson, for your service to this board and for speaking up in support of the recommendations.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, since Mr. Manning bring up a very interesting point, I do think if that is that might be something we might need to consider for other boards. Because I'm telling you, these boards are very important, and they have to make some very, very important decisions that affect the community. And some board members think, they're council members. Some of them are not able to separate themselves as a board appointment versus, like a council member. And so it's very important that probably the new council might consider how they actually, some criteria for future board members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say I totally agree with Councilwoman Dickerson, and I didn't mean to create any defensiveness about whether I was feeling like this was a good idea. I was just curious by process that if the library board had done this, but it didn't come to council, what was making this one different, in that I think that it would be very helpful for people to have an idea what they were applying for, and probably for the committee that interviews people, for them to ascertain that they did read and understood this kind of criteria. So I think the whole process ought to look at this as a good example and a model for other boards and commissions. Some of them have different amounts of time, but that's identified here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I might
I
add.
have Ms. Newton. I have Ms. Newton in my announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this may be what Mr. Malinowski was about to add, but to the points made here today, I just wanted to note that the Rules and Appointments Committee did go to our boards and commissions and ask them for updated information about their board makeup, their rules and responsibilities, and the time commitment. We did not necessarily hear back from all of those organizations, but that request was made, and I do believe that our clerk to council is going to be following up with those organizations that we didn't hear from. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Malinowski, you need to say something?
That's exactly where I was going. Thank you, sir.
Ms. McBride?
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
McBride, did you need to speak?
Yes. I just wanted to add to, in terms of looking at the qualifications, also giving council members the opportunity to vote for each applicant, because sometimes we don't have that opportunity the way it's presented.
All right, any further discussion? There being none, can I would ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the committee's recommendation regarding item 18A1.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teresio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration so that this could be implemented as soon as
I'll
possible.
second it. I'll second that.
There's a
I'll
move and
second the
properly a second for reconsideration of item 18A1. Ms. Owens, can you call the roll for the motion for reconsideration of item 18A1?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails. Thank you.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. That brings us to item 19, report of the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee. Mr. Manning. Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, I want to thank the members of the committee for their work getting this material ready for the meeting tonight, and also for the staff and their work. Item 19A, Polo Road widening service order. The committee recommends approval of service order 11 to Cox and Dinkins for the design of Polo Road widening as described in the scope of work, which is in your packet, pages 280 through 316.
You heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion? Reference item 19A. If not, I'll ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the committee's recommendation for item 19A.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move for reconsideration.
Is it moved for reconsideration? A second?
Second.
Moving properly, second reconsideration. Ms. Owens, can you call the roll for the motion reconsideration for item 19A?
Yes. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chairman, item 19B, the I-26 widening mitigation credit sales, which is the information's on the packet distributed, pages 318 through 331. The motion be from the committee's recommendation, approval the sale of 6.76 wetland credits to Weyhauser for the SCDOT I-26 interchange widening project for $125,974.40.
You heard the committee's recommendation. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, this is Delia. May I be recognized?
Yes, Ms. Myers, you recognize.
To put on the record the same concern I have consistently with mitigation bank credits and how they're sold in Richland County and what they're used for. I'd just like it to be noted and to make the public aware that the entirety of this mitigation bank is on Old Bluff Road, which obviously is in a very blighted part of Richland County, and there is not one nickel of planning that has gone into improvements in Old Bluff Road, yet there is a multi-million-dollar mitigation bank with mitigation bank credit sales to be used to improve other parts of Richland County. Therefore, I will be voting no. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Owens, can you call the roll for the committee's recommendation for item 19B?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
May I abstain on this for further information? Thank you.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move for reconsideration.
Motion reconsideration, there's second.
Second.
Moving proper second for reconsideration. Ms. Only, can you call move for the motion for reconsideration?
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
I don't know how you vote when you abstain, so I'm gonna continue to abstain on it.
yes, ma'am. McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chairman, item 19C, petition for annexation of Richland County property, the Three Rivers Greenway, Saluda Riverwalk. Let's find that information on pages 332 through 335. The committee's recommendation is for approval of the petition for first reading.
You heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion? If not, Ms. Only, can you call the roll for the committee's recommendation for item 19C?
Sir, Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes, this is first reading, right?
Yes.
Okay.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, 19D. The topic is Transportation Department reorganization. You find the information on pages 336 to 341. The committee took up the organization of the Transportation Department to do reorganization of a county department that requires council approval. There was some discrepancy about the two organizational charts that were before the Transportation Committee. What the committee did, however, was to bring forward to council tonight. The committee recommends approval to create the manager of finance transportation position. The money, council's already approved the money for this position within the current budget, so the money's there. And so the committee recommendation is to create that position. And at its October meeting, the committee will verify that we have the correct organizational chart to bring to council at that time.
You heard the committee's recommendation and discussion. Just one question. Was this a staff recommendation regarding this matter?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Manning, I just wanted to follow up for clarification on the last part of your sentence about the organizational chart.
Yes.
Are you saying that this current organizational chart doesn't represent where this new position would be, and so we're going to get a new one at your next committee meeting, or did I mishear?
No, that's correct.
Thank you. Could you just tell us where, without looking at all the other positions, where would this position fit roughly?
It would fit under the Director of Transportation.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, you hear the committee's recommendation for item 19D. Ms. Ona, can you call for the vote for the committee's recommendation for 19D?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Walker,
An excited yes for internal financial oversight of this program.
Oh, diggity dog.
Wow. You go, Mr. Walker.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Actually, I'd like to change my vote to yes, please.
I thought that would be.
Yes,
I
sir.
was looking for that.
And I move for reconsideration,
And
please.
I second.
It's moving proper second for reconsideration for item 19D. Ms. Ona can call the roll for reconsideration for that item.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, with great appreciation to the committee and the staff, that'll conclude my report for this evening.
Thanks, sir. That brings us to other items. The first one is fiscal year 21 budget considerations. Mr. Brown, can you tell us? I'm sorry, that's the top of the item. I apologize. First item on the budget reconsideration is item A1, which is school resource officers. Who's going to present that? Is Mr. Cowan on the line or staff?
Steve Collins on the line, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Cowan, you have anything else you want to present? Reference the school resource officers from last time? Just as a reminder to council, Mr. Cowan, before we get started. Remember now, we discussed this item at our last meeting, and the reason why this is listed on the other items and on the agenda because it was deferred from the last meeting. I'm sorry, Mr. Cowan, go ahead.
No, sir, Mr. Chair, that's no problem. I actually updated council last week with the questions that were asked in the last meeting, provided an updated document to you, which gave additional information, answered the questions, and provided as much detail as I possibly could. If there's any further questions that need to be asked or answered, excuse me, I'm happy to do so.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman. Oh.
Mr. Manning, you recognize.
Ms. Newton can go ahead.
Ms. Newton?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manning. This question is partly for the Sheriff's Department and perhaps partly for our administration. Page 346 of the document under the chart mentions the reallocations for 150 employees not impacted by phase 1 or phase 2 of the total rewards. And I was under the impression that the only part of total rewards that we had approved was phase 1. So I just wanted clarity on that part as we're discussing a possible reimbursement rate.
I'll answer since first of all, that was a previous document that was submitted. So the council packet from tonight doesn't have the most up-to-date document, which I provided last week. But in answer to your question, the reallocation of those funds was to the personnel at the Sheriff's Department who did not receive anything under the first phase of total rewards. And as rewards was moved, maybe not the financial side of it, but phases of it were that those employees would also not qualify under that situation. So that's why we reallocated funds within the Sheriff's
Mr. Cowan, you're breaking up a little bit, at least on my line.
Mine too.
Mine three.
Unfortunately, Mr. Cowan, I only heard the first sentence of what you said.
You're breaking up.
Okay, I'll fix that. Apologize. I'm sorry, can you hear me now better?
Yes.
Okay, so first and foremost, this document that you have in your packet is not the most up-to-date document that the Sheriff's Department provided. However, in answering your question, the reallocation of funds were specifically recurring dollars that the sheriff utilized to put towards phase 1 and phase 2 of personnel, for personnel that would not have otherwise received anything under the way the program was set up. As far as phase 2 or phase 1, we were under the impression that the phases were approved. The finances may not have been, but the phases themselves were approved. And if that was a misunderstanding, then that's fine. But either way, we had 150 people within the department that didn't receive anything under that, and that's why we reallocated funds to take care of that.
Thank you, Mr. Callen. And I don't know if there's anyone on staff who can speak to that. I just want to be clear, if we're reimbursing based on county changes, just ensuring that those changes were actually implemented across the county.
This is Stacy Ham. Can I be recognized?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the phase 1 and phase 2, the original phase 1 is to bring the people up to the minimum. And then the phase 2 part was the January raise where we started to move them toward the mid, but we only moved part of the money. We didn't fund the whole part of the moving the people into the mid. So those were the 2 phases that when he refers to phase 1 and phase 2.
So you're saying that we did not approve funding for phase 2?
We only provided funding for a portion of it, about 25% of it.
Do we know how that?
We approved 1.5 million for the 6 months, which was the 3 million increase that's part of this year. That's phase 2.
Okay. So can someone speak to what parts of that would have been allocated for the Sheriff's Department that we would be reimbursing?
Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, please.
Ms. Newton, to answer your question, a very small portion of the sheriff school resource officers was funded in phase 2. Significant resources that the sheriff was getting for resources were funds for the general fund budget. But as I would have to look up to give you the exact dollar amount that phase 2 presented for school resource officers, but I know it was very little. The vast majority of phase 2 budget dollars went to the sheriff's department's budget in the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question. You talk about phase 2, but phase 1, did the school resource officers receive money for phase 1? Ms. Hayes?
They did not receive funding until we reallocated those funds. They were not part of that consideration. So we had to, there were 42.
Ms. Callen, go out on me again.
I'm not sure what happened to my internet. I apologize. The funding, we reallocated funds within our budget to cover the SROs because there was not funding allocated to cover the SROs. They were not receiving anything
For
under
phase
the way
1,
the plan was presented.
For phase 1, 2, you're saying?
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah, that was my question. Okay. Ms. Malinowski, you recognize.
Hey, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go back to what Ms. Ham said. And it seems to me, from what I heard, not everybody was supposed to be getting a raise out of this because, if I understand this correctly, the first phase was to bring people to the minimum. And it was the second phase that would move them toward the middle. So not everybody had to be brought to the minimum. So I don't believe everybody was supposed to get a raise in the Sheriff's Department. Would that be correct, Ms. Ham?
I think so.
I know all employees didn't qualify for some type of a raise, so there were some that did not qualify for any type of a raise.
Thank
But I'm
you.
not sure on the sheriff's department.
Mr. Malinowski, under the criteria that was approved by council, everybody that we reallocated funding for should have received something and they did not. Therefore, we had to reallocate funds to do so. So it was the criteria that was approved by council that we reallocated funds to cover.
Okay, Ms. Ham, could you maybe address that? Why enough funds weren't provided for the employees that were supposed to get these raises?
The funding was in the general fund, and the non-departmental budget is where the funds were. James might be able to speak more on that. Of where the budget
Yes,
was.
yes, Mr. I can speak to that for phase one of total rewards, which was last August of 2019, if my memory serves me correctly. We had roughly budgeted 1.8 million for that. Those were funds that were carried over from the COLA budget that was approved in January of 2019. So we had roughly a little less than $2 million that was left. And that was the budget that was approved by council to fund phase one of total rewards, bringing individuals up to the minimum. At that point in time, the budget department didn't have anything else to do with it. The allocation of that, of who got what, was turned over to HR. Same thing with total rewards. Phase two, council approved 1.5 million. Annualized would be 3 million in FY21. The budget department just managed those resources, but we did not determine what organizations or what entities got those funds. That would be more of an HR.
So is there someone that can give us an answer as to the number of employees in different agencies, as to why an agency possibly wasn't provided enough funding to cover the employees that were supposed to get the raises?
Do we have someone from HR?
Good afternoon. This is Dwight. I can't speak to the exact number of SRO officers, but as I recall, there were many officers that the sheriff department identified that needed to be.
Can you talk a little louder, Mr. Hannah, you're breaking up. Can you speak a little louder?
Sure. I apologize. I don't remember the exact number, but as I recall, there were several positions in the Richland County Sheriff Department that the Sheriff Department identified that needed to be, I'll use the word corrected. They had been promoted, but had not been, I guess, updated in the system. I think maybe this is what we're talking about. We'd already allocated the money that had been approved by council when these positions were identified. As I recall, once they were identified, I wasn't a part of these meetings, but from my understanding, there was an agreement by the Sheriff Department that they would use their funding that was already approved in their budget from last fiscal year. And I think that's what is being referenced to, but I would ask maybe Chief Cowan to confirm I'm on the right track with this.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm done with that question, Mr. Chair.
Any, Mr. Madden, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with what Mr. Hannah was just saying and Chief Cowan, so is the issue actually the approving of the SRO budget, or is the issue the total rewards? I'm unclear. I was thinking that so much of this discussion's about total rewards, but I thought this issue was just a matter of approving the SRO budget. Can I get clarification on that, please?
Mr. Manning, this is Dwight. I'll speak, and certainly Chief Cowan can speak also. It's my understanding that the Sheriff Department's request is related to the budget. There have been some questions about total rewards, which I've just tried to answer as they've come up. Thank you.
So if the issue is about approving the budget, and we've already approved the budget for really everything else for the county with the exception of this, and the other two items that we did on second reading this evening, I would make the motion that we pick up on this from where it was when it was deferred at our last meeting, and the briefing information that was submitted to all of us from Chief Cowan, and move for the second reading approval of the SRO budget.
Second.
Okay, just, Ms. Malinowski, you can go ahead. I'm trying to think through what I want to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify for the record, we received some documents from Deputy Chief Cowan, and in there was some language used that, for the record, I want to make sure is corrected, because he used terms such as reductions in our budget over the last 3 years, that the Sheriff's Department budget has taken numerous cuts, and to bridge the gaps created by reductions in funding. At no point in time did Richland County ever cut the Sheriff's Department budget. We can't do so by law, number one. Number two, I looked into it, and over the last 5 years, the Sheriff's Department has received an increase in their budget every year of the last 5 years, which would be in excess of a total of $4.8 million. So I want to make sure the public is aware we are not cutting their budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Do anyone, my question was, do anyone have the, I don't have that sheet with me, what dollar amount we're talking about in terms of, because we've approved the budget, we're just talking about increasing the budget. So what's that dollar amount is?
Can I answer? Mr. Livingston?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I think roughly $921,000.
Sorry, James, where are you getting that figure?
That's what
It's it's the same number that we spoke about before, Chief, because the current budget has the victim assistance approved. Again, when council approved the biennium budget.
Well, we've done victim assistance already. I'm separating that out.
No, I'm sorry. No, the school resource officer. When the school resource officer's budget was approved in July of 2019, the total amount approved for the general fund portion of it was $1,075,000 of that total $6.1 million. But again, according to this is all from the document that the chief provided. I think, and again, I don't want to speak for you, Chief, but again, I think in your document, you referenced that the general funds portion would be of that 6.7 million, the general funds portion would be 1.9 million, correct?
Well, your approved budget was 6.148303. We're asking that the budget be approved at 6.795406, which is an increase of roughly $727,000. So I'm not sure where you get the other 200,000 from.
Right. That is correct, Chief. But remember, when we spoke about it, it has to do with the issue of the revenue number being truing up, because in the budget that council approved, the 5.2 million, 5 million, well, a little over 5 million was for the general fund budget. But remember, you gave us an amended number of 4.8 million. So when you have a reduction of the revenue plus the culminated increase in expenditures, the total difference, I mean, the county administrator may be able to shed a little bit more light on it, because we all talked about this in the meeting. So he may be able to give you those numbers in a different capacity. But yeah, Chief, we did have this discussion before.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, just members of council, I'll try to make this a little clearer. So this is one of those scenarios where you have two parties who are both right. The financial dollars that Chief Cowan is presenting to you is the financial impact. It is the actual, if you want to call it, cash money that we're referring to. Mr. Hayes is giving you a fiscal impact. He's talking about the budget that was approved versus the budget that we'll need to make the actual numbers match. So Mr. Hayes and Mr. Cowan are both right. The council needs to approve, if it chooses to approve the sheriff's request, budgetary wise, the number is like 921. Financially, you will be increasing the sheriff's department's actual dollars by 727,000. So again, it's a fiscal versus financial impact. The numbers are equivalent. One is budgetary, one is actual money. So I hope that it helped explain it, but that's why these departments have kind of been off kilter, because they're talking about the same amount of money, but because of the budget, one is budgeted dollars and one is actual financial cash money, if you will. So hopefully that provided some clarity for all the parties on the call.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. That I agree with what Mr. Brown just said, and it is completely accurate as far as we're concerned. The one thing I would like to mention that's very important is 75% of the total cost of the SRO program is billed to the school districts. So some of the increase we have to take into account is being billed back to the districts. So I appreciate Mr. Brown clarifying that, because the way he said it makes total sense and is totally accurate. But I just want to make sure it's clear to council that they understand that we are billing 75% of the SRO program back to the school districts.
That makes sense.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, yes, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Myers, you recognize.
Thank you, sir. Administrator Brown, can you explain that for the slow ones among us? I didn't understand what the difference is, and I don't understand what the inputs are that make up the difference. So could you break that down a bit for me? Thank you, sir.
I'll give you I'll try to give you round numbers. So Mr. Hayes, as a part of his job, does budget forecasting. So when he forecasted the amount of money associated with the school resource officer program, and you approved that budgeted amount, he forecasted a roughly about $5 million. So the actual revenue that was received was not 5 million, dollars. And specifically, the sheriff's department did not give that forecast number. So one of the reasons why there has been a disconnect is because the sheriff's department is saying, we did not give you that forecast number or that amount for reimbursement. We gave you 4.798. So as you can tell, the difference between that 5 million and a 4.78 is a discrepancy. So from the chief's standpoint, he's saying, we are not really asking you for an additional increase. From Mr. Hayes' standpoint is, well, now what you did is you adjusted the budget. So since you did not receive 5 million, I now have to reduce the amount of revenue projected to be received by the general fund by the difference between that 5 million and a 4.798 million. So right there, you have a financial impact that the chief is aligning, and you have a fiscal impact, which is again, a budget number that was forecasted. So the county approved the budget, which was a forecast number, but it was not the equivalent of the actual revenue dollars that were received from the SRO program, which is why the chief keeps saying, that's not our number. You did not use our number. So that is where the gap is. Does that help, Ms. Myers?
Got it. Yeah, I got it. I thought you were saying the exact opposite. So thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussions? Mr. Manning, can you restate your motion? What was that motion?
Yes, sir. So my motion is that we pick up on where we were with this at the last meeting when we deferred it for Chief Cowan to answer questions, which he did in writing for council prior tonight, so that we pick up on it from where it was with the other two items that we approved. And so the motion is to approve on like the other two items, second reading this evening.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I'm going to ask Ms. Only to call the roll for the motion.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride, Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers, Newton.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Manning, you think you need to reconsider this item?
No, ma'am, because it's a second reading, so it'll be third reading.
I just want to be sure. I didn't see
Thank you.
that listed, so I just want to be sure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
All righty, let's see, where am I now?
20B.
You're on other items 20B.
Other items.
I mean, A2, I'm sorry, 20A2.
Yeah, that's
28-2. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, you recognize.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion for approval of item 28, and I apologize, I did some of the papers here, I lost it.
I seconded that motion.
A motion moving properly second. Mr. Malinowski, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure I'm correct here in my understanding of this. This is an amount that we're obligated to pay because of, I guess, some state law or contract we have with them.
Yes, sir, Mr. Malinowski. That's my understanding, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? If not, there's no further discussion. Ms. Owens, can you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride, Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Well, yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move for reconsideration so we can get that paid.
That's a motion for
Second.
reconsideration.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Well, Ms. Owens, can you call the roll for reconsideration?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
Nope.
Newton.
No.
And McBride, no.
You. Motion fails.
Ms. Owens, what's the next item on the agenda? I misplaced that particular sheet of my agenda in my moving my papers around.
Prisoners Health request to use Columbia Mall.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Prisoners Health request to use Columbia Place Mall.
May I address that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Briefly, members of council, we received a request, and the reason why this request is before you is because we do have a county building use policy, and I wasn't sure whether or not that would allow me to make the decision without coming to council, because that policy only addresses two facilities, the Decker Center and the parking lot. So that's why this item is before you. But my request for the council would be to approve Prisma's request. We have already submitted to them a document or an agreement, which our legal has reviewed and risk management has reviewed. So if it's the county's pleasure to approve that request, we are able to move forward and allow them to use them all. And so all the documentation that we need is available to us to move this item forward if the council will approve it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mayor, you recognize it then, yeah.
I'd like to make a different motion pertaining this. I would move that we add to our policy that allows the county administrator to make the decisions about the Columbia Place Mall and its parking lot added to the document he just referred, so as this item and any in the future would fall under the county property use policy.
I second. Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. I'm sorry, I had Malinowski, then McBride.
Oh, Ms. McBride, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just seconding Mr. Manning's motion and to say I am truly excited about this because I have worked so hard trying to get the Columbia Place Mall as the ideal place. But we have so many hot spots within that mall. And not only now can cars drive through, we have the public transportation for people that don't have cars. And also people can walk up to be tested. So I am super excited about this. And I just thank my colleagues and hope that you would support it.
Mr. Malinowski?
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Malino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not so sure that we can act on the motion Mr. Manning made because we don't have anything on our agenda about changing Richland County policy, use policy. What's on the agenda is to approve or deny the request from Prisma Health.
I retract my motion.
In addition, I'd like the county administrator to make a clarification here because I'm getting some mixed feedback. You stated that risk management was okay with this, but in the document I have in our agenda, page 364, it says at risk management general recommendation that unoccupied county properties not be made available for use by third parties. But I just heard from Administrator Brown that they're recommending it. So which is correct? Is this a change?
I'll clarify my statement. I apologize if I spoke too quickly. Risk management gave an assessment. You are correct. That assessment is in the document. My conversation was that we had a document that we provided to Prisma that we sent from us, our own document to Prisma that was recommended by legal. Prisma came back to us and said, we have very minor changes to your document. Legal and risk management reviewed those changes and said, based on the document that Richland County sent to Prisma and the conditions within that document, both risk management and our legal were fine. In terms of using the facility, risk management certainly has given their opinion, which is their job, is to advise. However, I've taken it into consideration, and it is my recommendation that even considering that, we have the appropriate indemnification within their legal agreement that we will provide to Prisma, which would serve to cover us to the extent that we need that. And with that being the case, then again, I would recommend approval for this public use of COVID-19 testing at Columbia Place Mall, if the council will approve that request.
Okay, and we're not getting a copy of this agreement then prior to the vote.
It literally just came back tonight about while we were on the, it might have been economic development meeting or one, but Prisma literally just sent it back with a few changes. Legal saw it, Brad specifically, county attorney, assistant attorney Brad saw it, said he was good with it, and he may be on this call, I'm not sure, but it has been reviewed this evening, the most updated version, which we literally just got a few hours ago.
Okay, well, I just don't like to vote on blind things I can't see, so that's the only reason I'll be voting no, Administrator.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Dixon, you recognize.
I am very excited along with Ms. McBride, as long as this give us like, I think, look like it would give us like a permanent place for us to refer our constituents to, our citizens to, just in case they don't know where to go, because a lot of times most people get confused as to where they go and the time. So this will give them a probably like a permanent position, a permanent place where they can go. I think all we have to do is just kind of make sure we specify the timing and make that via our PIO office. And I think this is a very good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? And the motion is for approval for item.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
You recognize Mr. Walker.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the original maker of the motion has now withdrawn his motion. Therefore, I would put forward the motion that we approve this item as recommended.
Second.
If you move the proper second to approve this item as recommended. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Myers?
Chair. I actually thought Mr. Manning's motion was a substitute motion, was it not?
No, I didn't get the motion before Ms. Manning's motion.
Okay. I thought there was a motion on the floor before that, but thank you.
I made the motion, but it's okay. We'll go with
it. Wait a minute.
I thought you had, Ms. McBride. I thought that was correct.
Let me back up. Thank you, Ms. Myers. Who seconded Ms. McBride's motion?
Ms. Dickerson did.
I second the motion, but I think we got lost in the conversation. So we can go back to the original motion.
Mrs. McBride, if you had a motion, what was your motion?
I move that we accept the staff's recommendation.
Mr. Walker, you cool with that, right?
And Ms. Only, you have record of the first motion?
No, sir, I didn't hear it.
And I apologize, I didn't either. But it's the same as the.
Mr. Chair, I will gladly withdraw my motion in favor of Ms. McBride being the maker.
Motion will accept.
And I second it.
McBride motion as the original motion. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Only can call the roll for the original motion that was made by Ms. McBride and second by Ms. Dickerson, I think she said.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Oh, yes.
Manning,
All righty then.
Myers,
I'd like to congratulate Ms. McBride and the staff. This is an excellent idea. Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Let's on reconsideration for that one, so we won't have no problem.
I make a motion to reconsider.
Motion for reconsideration.
I'll second it.
Second.
I'll second it.
Second. Ms. Only call the roll for reconsideration.
Yes, sir.
Item 23.
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
No, ma'am.
Manning, Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
That brings us to item 20, C and D. District House Child Tax Allocations and D fiscal year District 2 hospitality allocation.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve item C and D.
Second.
It's moving proper second to approve for item C and D. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker, you recognize.
same statement as always. I'm voting no, but not for any personal reasons. Just need to revisit this program. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Only can call the roll for the motion for item C and D, 20
Yes,
C and
sir.
D.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to reconsider.
This motion reconsiders item 20 C and D. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly second. Ms. Only can call the roll for the motion for reconsideration of items 20 C and D.
Malinowski,
No.
Dickerson,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Horatio,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
No.
Myers,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. That brings us to executive session items. Mrs. Smith, we don't have anything in executive session other than what we covered already, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That brings us to the motion period as motion 22A. I move to restore the $37,000 plus to Richland County Conservation Program. I'll send that to the A&F committee. Since you're talking about money.
Mhm.
Did we get any more motions?
Mr.
Ms.
Chair.
Conley? Ms. Conley?
Mr. Chair, remember we amended the agenda to add the item from Ms. Newton.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
And that's the motion for the resolution McIntyre that's 22B.
That's a
Newton, you
resolution.
recognize.
It was Ms. Myers who spoke first, and then, but I would like to be recognized afterwards.
Well, I know since it was your motion, go ahead. Ms. Myers, go ahead.
This is not on the topic of that motion, so I'll yield to Ms. Newton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues. My intent, as I expressed in my email, was to request approval from council that we create a resolution to support McIntyre in their effort to get the F-35 plane brought to McIntyre. That if we approved council writing a resolution, that I would distribute that for approval so that we could get it on our agenda at the October 20th meeting. I have during our meeting sent that to council, so I would ask either that we vote on this with the stipulation that council review the email that I sent and approve it, or I can read that read that draft resolution into the record now if it please my colleagues.
Mr. Chair, I don't know why we just don't vote on the resolution going forward and handle it at that next meeting then.
That's what I was gonna suggest. That's basically what we do anyhow.
Yeah, we don't need it to.
Resolution.
So I'll entertain a motion to whatever effect.
I will ask Miss Newton to go ahead and make the motion for the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. So I move that we
That was Ms. Dickerson.
I'm so sorry because I'm looking at Ms. Dickerson.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson.
You're welcome.
I move that we, sorry, I'm trying to log in so I can see the resolution. I move that we put forward a resolution in support of McIntyre to present it to them at our October 20th council meeting.
Second.
Moving properly second for the McIntyre resolution. Ms. Only, can you call the roll for that motion, which would be 22B?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Ms. Myers, you're recognized.
I was just going to ask Ms. Only if she would read them. There were 3 motions that I sent in.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think they were timely.
Yes, ma'am.
And
I
I
have
have
them.
one too.
I have yours also, Ms. Dickerson.
Okay.
These 3 are from Ms. Myers. The first one is move to remit the $300,000 private donation negotiated by Councilwoman Myers and Councilman Jackson earmarked for the Taylor's community to Richland County Parks and Recreation under an IGA to be designated as funding for the Taylor's Community Park, promised and fully funded as part of an economic development plan for the Rain community on Shock Road before December 31st, 2020. These funds were donated beginning in 2017 prior to the construction of the 2,000-bed new Rain community, which is now complete. RC staff has not begun planning or construction on the fully funded park.
Ms. Myers, what committee you want that one to go to?
A and F probably.
Yes.
All right, can you read the next one?
The next one is to move to engage a third-party design build company to begin work on the $2 million Southeast Richland County multipurpose facility as approved by council in 2018. The funds were earmarked and approved, but RC staff is not undertaking any planning or construction of the council-approved project by the end of November 2020.
It's A and F too, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chair, can we have 2 hours?
You talking about $2 million now? You might need 2 hours. Ms. Arnold, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Ms. McBride, you have a question about what we're on now? I see your hand was up. Go ahead, Ms. Arnold, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Move to engage a third-party consultant to undertake work on Richland Renaissance, which was approved 11-0 by this council in early 2019. Staff has chosen to postpone this council-approved project, which would alleviate serious facility constraints and result in savings over time, as the county would not spend money on short-term repairs, but on long-term needed facilities planning and construction.
All right, I'll
Again,
send that.
A and F.
No, I'm getting that Renaissance committee to meet now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And the Ms. Dickerson's is, she moves that the county ordinance specifically identify public places such as restaurants, taverns, lodges, parking lots, public places near which children or students attend normally and congregate. This is the loitering and nuisance ordinance. She wants it to be amended.
I wasn't clear on that.
Mr. Chair, we've had the sheriff department has informed me that when we identify loitering and nuisance places of nuisance, that sometimes they cannot enforce it because it's not clear which facilities they have the authority to actually to do something where it comes to loitering. So I have been asked by our CAT team that we identify those places that they can actually enforce loitering laws on it, and has to be through our ordinance. So rules and appointment can probably vet this out. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Identify place. I'm trying to think where that needs to go. Ms. Malinowski, go ahead while I'm thinking about this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. To address Ms. Dickerson's comments in the CAT team, it was several years ago that we had passed some type of a loitering ordinance, because it was the same question from some of the sheriff's deputies, that as people were hanging around on the corners, they couldn't do anything. And I don't know if it was passed only because of drugs. I think it was a general ordinance that said that if you're loitering out there, they had the right to come up and ask you what you were doing, ask for identification. So before that gets to rules, I'd like staff to look into that and make sure we already don't have something, or if we do, what we have.
Mr. Chair, to address Mr. Malinowski's concerns, I would like this motion to go forth and let staff, do that, so that when it comes to if that's where Mr. Livingston choose to, place it, that you will have that information, because right now it is not clear. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, are you sending that to rules then?
I'm debating rules or DNS, but rules would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. You can vet it real close for me.
Will do, Ms. Dickerson.
I don't know about that, Ms. Dickerson.
Well, we can.
That completes the last item before adjournment on my agenda.
Chairman, I've got my hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Ms. Manning, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. So the second motion you sent to the Renaissance Committee?
Third one.
Okay, third one. The one right before that was going to A&F, was that part of the Renaissance program as well?
The $2 million facility,
No.
Might have been. Ms. Myers.
It was. Yes, sir.
I thought it was a part of the Renaissance program. What do you?
I do not think it was, but I'm happy to have someone research it, but I don't think it was.
I'll research it, and if it was, we'll send it there. If not, we'll leave it at A&F. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Adjourn.
business, I'll move to
Point of
adjourn.
order.
Okay.
Mr. Walker, you recognize for point of order?
Well, I'd like it read into the minutes that I was absent for items 1 through 6 of this meeting and wasn't available until after executive session, where it's picked up at item 7. Thank you.
Please make a note of that, Ms. Ong.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Now I'll accept that motion.
Mr. Manning got his hand raised.
No, there was a motion to adjourn. Ms. Manning,
Good
go ahead.
night. Bye.
Oh, bye. Okay,
I'll
yeah, the
second
motion
the
was
motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn. Who seconded the motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's moved and properly
Everybody.
adjournment. Ms. Ong, can you call the roll for the motion for adjournment?
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes. For my colleague.
Teratio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Manning, Myers,
Yes.
Newton.
Yeah.
Livingston, thank you for your leadership, because you've had a number of meetings today, and I appreciate your work.
I've been in this same seat since about 2:30.
Very good job, Mr. Livingston. Have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.
I can't get up now. Thanks.
Bye.